Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
Hey Brian, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Vacation Rental Mastery, Unlocking Your Freedom. We're happy to have you here, and we'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Karan. It's an honor for me to be here with you today. I'm excited about our conversation. Yeah, so my name is Brian Tibbs, and in the vacation rental space, I have 35 units in 2 different states. I've been doing short-term rentals since 2016. So I've been at it for a little while, and hopefully there's some stuff that I can learn from you, and maybe there's some stuff I can share with your audience that will be beneficial. I've been investing in real estate since I was 19 years old, and I actually moved overseas for 16 years and was running a nonprofit. And while I was running the nonprofit, I just kind of kept a half an eye on my real estate portfolio and tried to grow that over the years, and got to the point to where that's enabled me to essentially retire from a W-2 job, and now I just focus on my investments. So just wrote a book as well and put that out, and so that's what I've been doing to keep myself busy lately.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You got 35 units, and you're saying you wrote a book to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, right? Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so speaking of investing since you were 19, and
Mhm.
now having 35 units, 35 vacation rentals. Tell us a little more. I'm very curious how you got there and what you've done all these years.
Yeah, so when I was in college, I know my dad encouraged me, and I had noticed something even at that early age. I'd noticed that a lot of wealthy people either were wealthy because of real estate or they put their wealth in real estate. And so that just kind of clicked with me that there's something about real estate. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to tell you its appreciation, cash flow, I wouldn't have known those things, but I just was like looking at people who were successful and wanted to do what they were doing. So I wanted to live for free in college. I didn't want to pay the dorms. I didn't want to pay for rent. And so I bought a duplex, and I put a tenant in one side, and I brought roommates on my side, and almost covered my mortgage that way, right? And when I saw, hey, I can live for free, then I kind of stockpiled my paychecks and just kept investing going forward. And that's really what my book is about: is how to kind of get out of the rat race where you have to have a mortgage, you got to have a car payment, you got to have credit card debt. Just be smarter than that, and take a big chunk of what you make and invest it over the long term. And that's what we did. So we just slowly added units over the years. And and even though we were making a very modest salary as CEO of a nonprofit, we weren't making very much money at all. In fact, if you took our total W-2 paycheck divided by the hours that we worked in the nonprofit, we made just $9.20 an hour. I went and figured it out.
Wow.
So, minimum wage, basically. And we still were able to build a multi-million-dollar portfolio just by slowly, methodically buying new properties, selling off. In the very beginning, we literally bought property on the wrong side of the tracks. And so as we kind of gained momentum, I would sell off the stuff that I bought earlier, buy something bigger and better in a better location going forward, and just try to kind of snowball that.
What's very interesting is you talk about the snowball. You say you talk about investing since you're 19, since 19. How old are you now?
I'm 47 now.
So you're 47. You've been
Retired
investing
at
in real
retired
estate.
at 44.
Okay, so you're 19. You've been investing since then, and you've retired. You retired at 44, right?
Yeah.
At what age did you truly achieve, let's call it financial freedom to begin with?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a file in my Google Drive titled "Should We Retire?"
Oh, really?
And I wrote that in when I was maybe 41 or 42. So we had really reached the point to where we could at that point, but we didn't feel like that our job was done in
Yeah.
the nonprofit work. And so we kept working for a couple more years, and then COVID kind of helped us make that decision like, okay, everything's getting shut down, everything's getting extremely difficult. And so we decided, okay, our time has come. We've done our part, and so we moved back to the US in 2021.
What's really interesting is, people talk about retirement, right? And I try to tell
Right?
people retirement doesn't mean I quit. Retirement
Right.
means that that job you're working at is now a choice, right?
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
true meaning of retirement.
Yeah,
And it seems like you were at that nonprofit doing that work that you were doing more for fulfillment versus the paycheck. Because at $9, man, listen, you can work a lot of places right now, including probably the post office where you would make more, right? So,
absolutely.
so you've done it for a different reason, not for
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah, Arizona minimum wage is 13
Exactly.
25 or something. So yeah, no, it absolutely was a work of passion, and in the beginning we didn't get paid anything. In the end, we're getting paid a little bit better, but it wasn't. I was not getting paid consistent with what we were doing, right? And yeah, absolutely. I don't even like the word retirement, honestly. It's getting to the point to where you can work when you want and how you want and on your terms, right? What do you want to work on, rather
Right.
than, oh man, I got to get up and I got to commute to work again today.
Correct.
It's to choosing the projects that you want to work on, and what I'm doing now, I mean, similar to the nonprofit, is I'm just wanting to serve other people. I want to help other people figure out how to kind of escape that paycheck to paycheck trap, and build wealth so that you can have the same freedom to do what you want on your terms.
Yeah, no, man, I'll tell you, you're hitting so close to home for me on that, right? So if you even look at the title of our podcast, Vacation
Hmm.
Rental Mastery, but we say unlock your freedom. And when we talk about the freedom, everybody wants to talk about financial freedom. I want to retire early and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm going to, insist that financial freedom is just a means to achieve the true freedoms that matter, right?
Yeah.
Um, and when I say the true freedoms that matter, there's four others, and this is a framework around which we kind of, do everything we do. We've got, Vacation Rental Mastery is a podcast, but we also are launching a course and coaching around it. I've been coaching for about 4 years, but I've
Okay.
only now come to realize that, that this whole framework is so important. The four freedoms we talk about is time freedom,
Right.
it's location freedom,
Okay.
it's relationship freedom,
Right.
who and when you want to work with or not work with, that has to be a choice you make.
So
And the
good.
fourth one, which I can see so coming out so loud from everything you've done, I mean, you're such a great example of it. Impact freedom.
Yeah,
You've
I love
spent the
that.
time doing what people should be doing, which is changing lives. You've spent the time at a nonprofit making $9 an hour because you can. You and I will both agree, if you didn't have this real estate, $9 an hour is barely survival, right?
It's difficult. Yeah, for sure.
Well, so you've spent the time making that impact, achieving impact freedom, truly achieving that possibility of being able to impact people's lives, and now you've written a book that's going to impact even more lives than you can imagine. And this is all about the reach, right?
Yeah.
So when you
Yep.
talk about this, what people don't realize, they're chasing financial freedom. That doesn't give people the fulfillment. You'll make the money, man. You'll make as much money as you want. But if you don't truly work on these other freedoms, you'll never feel fulfilled.
That's
You,
so good. And
you,
I haven't heard it said that way before. I really like that. Impact freedom. I've never heard that term, but I'm
no,
gonna sit on that
I
for a
can't
little.
take 100% credit for it, but this is something my performance coach told me
Mhm.
because we were trying to put this together, trying to figure out where I'm going to go next. And to give you a little brief history of myself, right? I only started, I'm a little baby compared to you in the space, in the vacation rental space. I've got 9 vacation rentals. I've been
Okay.
doing this for about 4 years. And what
Okay.
happened was after year one of doing this, I had several people come to me and say, man, we really love what you're doing. Can you teach us?
Yeah.
Right? And I said, yeah, I'm happy to help. And I started off coaching people back then. And I've coached about 40 people who've bought somewhere in the range of, 40 to $45 million worth of real estate in the
Awesome.
last 3.5 years. and it gave me fulfillment. And that's great. And
100%.
as I turned this new chapter in my life, I quit my job. By the way, I'm 43.
Okay.
I quit
Congratulations.
my job December 31st, 2023. So I'm two
Okay.
and a half months into it, 2 months into it. And as I was trying to chart this course of where I'm headed next, and I worked with my performance coach, and he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to change people's lives."
Yeah.
I worked with 40 people, which means I've impacted somewhere between 150 and 200 lives, right? Their
There you go.
families changed,
Right.
right? Their
Right.
extended family changes, maybe more. I don't know what the impact is. I haven't been able to quantify. And he said, "Why don't you take that impact to the next level?"
Okay.
He said, because I've been doing personalized one-on-one coaching, right? And you can only do so much of that. He said,
Right.
what you absolutely need to do, because the message is so strong, what you've been able to achieve yourself is actually quite powerful, and where you've been going, right, has been great, and you can help people with this. So as I worked with him on understanding, and he worked me through this process of defining what I was after, and he said, what you're really after is impact freedom.
Hmm.
And I said, absolutely, I want to change people's lives. So
Yeah.
that's why we decided the best way to do it. I use vacation rentals as my vehicle to get there. There's a
Hmm.
number of different ways you can. There's a number of different ways you can go there, but vacation rentals is one of them, and it's a possible. It's a possibility. It's an accelerated path because the cash flow is usually much higher on vacation rentals, and
Right.
it just helps you get there faster. So that's why
Right.
we're launching this podcast that talks about vacation rentals and using it as a means to get to your freedoms. Ultimately, being
Right.
I don't really care how you get to the freedoms, but you can use a means, you can use any vehicle you want as long as you keep those freedoms in mind. Because that's what I was after when I decided to go down this path. I was after financial freedom first because I didn't realize all the other stuff existed. Then I realized I really wanted time freedom and location freedom because as a family, we love to travel the world, right?
Yeah.
We've traveled, my kids are 9, 9, 11, and they've traveled to 26 countries and 6 continents,
That's
right?
great.
2023 alone, we traveled to 10 different countries.
Wow.
So that's the kind of life we want to live. And I realized that I want to live, I wanted the time freedom and location freedom, which we've been getting, we've been working on, but that was what really made it worth it for me. And the money helped achieve that, right?
Right.
Then when I decided I'm going to quit my job, I realized this is absolutely fantastic. I can wake up in the morning and say, I want to work with this person, not work with this person, not have to worry about going up to this 9 to 5 paycheck job that I'm only dealing with a boss who's been, painful towards me, and I don't want to deal with them, but I have to go there because I got to earn a keep, right? I got to do
Right.
what I'm doing, right? So I have the choice to choose the relationships I want. And then the message of I've impacted these lives, it gives me fulfillment, right?
Right.
One of the things that happens naturally for people when you make a lot of money, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, it is going to cause the rise of your ego.
Hmm.
Okay, and the only way to push that ego back down, to suppress that ego, to be back you, is to go out and serve others,
Yeah. That's good.
right? So that's why the impact freedom is so important.
Sure.
We still want
That's
the money, we still want to grow the wealth because it helps us achieve all these different things, and that gives us fulfillment and live
right.
a quality life. So you're such a great example of this. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I'm so happy that our audience will be able to really pick on this. Now I want to pivot this a little bit. Great conversation, great journey. You've achieved all these freedoms. Help me understand more about this book. I want to hear all about it. I've heard it's reached some really good ranking. It's beat out some really big names in the industry, but I'm going to ask you to tell us about it. Tell me all
Sure.
about it.
Well, it's called The Hacker Method, the Unexpected Investor's Guide to Building Wealth, even on limited income. So that's that piece that I really focused on for my career.
Yeah.
And it's yeah. So in terms of rankings, we hit number one on our launch day in all three of our categories, like our investing categories and retirement planning and budgeting, all that. So we hit number one there, and we held that for 4 days. We've since slipped to like third or fourth. I haven't checked in the last day or two, but anyway, we held that spot for 4 days. And on the new release category, we beat out Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins so all three. So we have a Kindle version, we have a paperback, and we have a hardback. Kindle was number 1, paperback was number 2, and the hardback was number 7 on the new release list. And that's where we beat out Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins. So that was a fun moment in history to be able to record that.
Brian,
But the book,
give me a minute. I'm sorry for the interruption. My dog barked at the wrong time. We're gonna have to go through this thing again.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Sorry about that, Brian.
That's all right.
All right, we're gonna start that part about the book again.
Okay, where do you want to start?
So I'll ask the question again.
Okay.
So, Brian, tell us, we've had such a good conversation about all these freedoms, and I'm glad, we're having this spectacular conversation about your achievements. I want to understand this whole thing about the book that came about. You have this book you've recently launched, and I've heard it's reached certain heights and beat out some big names in the industry. Tell me more about it. I think I want to learn more because I have a book dream in my future, and I'd love to know how you did this.
Okay, awesome. Well, the book is called The Hacker Method, The Unexpected Investor's Guide to Building Wealth, Even on Limited Income is the subtitle. And yeah, we launched it on Tuesday, February 27th. And on launch day, it slowly rose up in the ranks. We hit number 1 in all 3 of our book categories, and we held that position for 4 days. It since has started to slip off because there's other new releases coming out that are getting hype and stuff. But I think the coolest ranking that we got is on launch day, and for a couple of days actually, we had 3 versions. So we have the Kindle version, the paperback version, and the hardback version. The Kindle version came in number 1 new release, and the paperback came in number 2, and the hardback came in number 7, and we beat out big names like Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins on their new books that came out in February. And so that we felt like was a pretty huge achievement and a fun moment in history. So, but the Hacker Method book, it's about, so hacker is an acronym. So HACKER. It's actually a 5-step formula where I took my journey on building wealth with limited income and broke that out into those 5 steps. So each of the letters stands for something different. You want me to kind of go through those steps?
Give us a high level because you got me excited, man. If you're beating out Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins, I want to hear more about it right now.
Sounds good. So H is hack your lifestyle. And so within the hack your lifestyle step, each of the letters is 5 steps. Within each step, there are also like sub-steps. So the 5 sub-steps inside Hack Your Lifestyle, there's 5 things that you need to do to hack your lifestyle to where you're not just following the culture's rules. Like you have to graduate college with $100,000 in debt. Then you got to buy a massive house and have a debt on that. Then you got to buy a brand new car, have debt on that. Then you got to pile up credit card bills so you can go on fancy vacations. So we just talk about ways to hack each of those things, not so that you live a miserable, cost-constrained life. I traveled the world while I was doing this. Now, I used my nonprofit to get there, but that's just another hack, right? So hack all of these things to where you can still have a nice house and a nice car and still live a fun life, but you got to hack these things so that it's not just draining your financial capacity.
Awesome.
Then A is allocation budgeting. So my prescription for building wealth is a fairly radical budgeting concept where it's called the 50-40-10. So 50% of your income is for spending on yourself today, 40% is for investing for your future, and 10% is to give away to make the world a better place, right? Because like you said earlier, if all we're about is accumulating money, you can turn into kind of a cartoonish monopoly guy, robber baron, and we want to avoid that. So we want to flex our generosity muscles. CK, cash is king investing. So once you've hacked your lifestyle and you've gotten your costs under control, you've set up your 50-40-10 budget, then take that 40% and learn how to invest to get outsized returns, right? Sure, you could stick your money in an S&P 500 index fund and get roughly 10% return your whole life. But if you could learn how to actually invest in different asset classes like real estate, like short-term rentals, traditional rentals, whatever, you can get better returns than that, and you can accelerate your wealth growth, right? The letter E is exponentiality, which I don't know for sure if that's really a word, but the idea is figure out how to create that snowball. It's hard to turn $10 into $20 or $100 into $200, but it's actually, I can't remember who said this, but there's a quote out there that says it's nearly impossible to turn $1,000 into $10,000. It's nearly inevitable to turn $1 million into $10 million or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And what he was saying is once you've got your engine built to where you're getting returns and you've grown your skill set to know how to accumulate a million, you'll go from a million to 10 million with a lot less effort than it took for you to get to that first million, right? So exponentiality. And then R stands for four things. Review everything you do in life. You need to take a look at it. Is it working? Is it not working? If it is working, repeat. A lot of entrepreneurs have the shiny object syndrome where they see some cool asset, oh, short-term rentals, and you don't know anything about it, and you just jump in. Or ooh, co-living, or ooh, tax liens. You just kind of get scattered. If what you're doing is working, my recommendation is to just repeat it and keep doing it.
Yeah.
If what you're doing isn't working, the third R is rework it, pivot, find another way to go. So up until 2016, so from 1996 till 2016, I was doing traditional rentals. And then I kind of had a flood in one of my houses and I had to move out. And so I rented an Airbnb and they were charging me like $200 a night. And I started thinking, wait a minute, how much am I getting in my apartments? I'm getting like $30 a night, right? And so I tested a couple of short-term rentals for a couple of months and then flipped them all. So I reassessed the situation or reworked my plan, pivoted, and have generated well over $1 million in extra income by flipping from traditional to short-term rentals. And then the last R in the R is reward. It's extremely important for us to reward ourselves. And I think as a society, we're really good at rewarding ourselves, but we reward ourselves before we have the means to do so.
Yeah.
So I put that one at the end. So once you've gotten your engine rolling and you've got your exponentiality going, you've got your systems dialed in, now you need to take your foot off the gas a little bit, harvest some of that bounty that you've received, and reward yourself. So that's the hacker method.
Absolutely spectacular. Outstanding, man. I have the book sitting on my shelf. I got to get to that book because I'll tell you what, you dropped some really good nuggets there. And I'll tell
Thank
you
you.
what it is. The stuff I realized that, you've spent 20 plus years learning.
Yeah.
You've developed a framework around it.
Yeah.
What happens? It helps people achieve mastery much quicker by piggybacking off of your experience.
Yes.
I was telling my kids yesterday, by the way, we were back home, coming on my way home from dinner, and, one of my kids wasn't behaving the way they should or whatever. And I said, you have to learn from other people's mistakes. That's what the wise people do, right?
Yeah.
They don't wait to make those mistakes themselves. They accelerate their learning by learning from things others did wrong. You did a lot of things wrong, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And that led you to write this book and say, I'm going to create this impact and help people and stop them from doing the stuff that I could have avoided.
100%.
Because they can follow this guideline and take things and do things the right way and accelerate this journey, right?
Yep.
Better their life. So really commendable. I know that, what's always been very helpful for me. Some of the stuff, I think you and I both agree, some of the stuff may seem quite logical, right?
Sure.
This makes sense. Why not do it? What keeps people from doing it 9 out of 10 times is the fact that there is no prescribed roadmap.
Right.
I don't have a roadmap. And that roadmap doesn't give me the clarity I need to execute on this plan I might be dreaming of.
Right.
I know it's possible, but
Yeah.
what's holding me back from executing on it is that there's no prescription for it. How the hell do I do this?
Yeah.
So your book seems like a really well thought out framework and a guideline to do this. And that's exactly why it probably beat out the big boys, right?
Right.
So great job on that, man. Absolutely
Thank you.
spectacular.
And that is really what my thought process is. Literally, when we came back to the US, coming out of a nonprofit where you don't make a lot of money, and everybody knows you don't make a lot of money. I had some of my friends say, "What are you going to do next?" They always want to, "Well, what job do you have lined up now?" And I'm like, "Well, nothing. I'm just going to manage the investments." And they just were confused. Well, like,
Yeah,
what do you mean nothing? I mean, how are you going to pay the bills? No, and you don't talk about this kind of
yeah,
stuff, and I would just say, well, we have some investments, and it's performing enough to pay the bills.
yeah,
They're like, well, how did you do that without a high paying job? And then they said, then would you teach me? So that's what led me to kind of the same as your story. That's what led me to sit down because I didn't have the hacker method for me. I had
yeah,
to sit down and think about it. Like, how did I do this? And how can I communicate this in a way that do exactly what you said, help people skip a lot of the heartburn and skip the whole invention process. I didn't start doing the 50-40-10 budget till like 10 years ago, right? So I haven't
yeah,
been doing that the whole time. So I was spending my entire paycheck, which slowed me down dramatically.
yeah.
And so, yeah, so it just put it into a formula that people can follow. Now you have to fill in the gaps because everybody's life is a little bit different, but here is a framework that you can plug and play. That's the idea.
If something gets you to 40% of the way,
Yeah.
it's easy for people to cross that bridge. The
Yes.
80% of people will have a problem taking step number one. But when
Right.
they get to take 10 steps, they cross that bridge, right? So
Exactly
that's
right.
where,
100%.
these kind of things are so helpful. And I'm so glad that we have people like yourself who are willing to put this out, because there's people out there who still live in the scarcity mindset
Right.
that, you know what, I discovered gold, but I don't want to share it because I want to keep it all for myself. I
Yeah.
just hate that completely, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's wrong thinking, I think.
exactly, and there's plenty for everyone, and
Oh, yeah.
everyone should have the opportunity to gain from it. The impact you are going to create is what is going to be with you and after you. It's the legacy you're going to leave behind,
Yeah.
even more than the money, right?
Yeah.
The money is great, but the legacy you create and the lives you change is what is going to make the difference in this world. So I applaud you for that.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Very powerful story. I'm really happy, you shared that with us. So tell us what else is exciting, man. It looks like you've done, you started in real estate, you traveled the world, you've been in nonprofit, you invest in all this stuff. So what are you going to do it now? What else is there? You wrote the book.
Yeah. So yeah, the kind of the follow-up to the book is I've launched a community, the Unexpected Investor Community, and where I'm opening it up to people. It's an application only. It's not, you don't just sign up and put your credit card in and you're in. We want people to apply because we care about who's in the community and kind of the culture and all that kind of stuff. So I've created a website, theunexpectedinvestor.com. One of the buttons at the top is community. So the idea is that we're going to journey through the hacker method and we're going to journey through this from paycheck to paycheck to those. I'm going to steal those four freedoms. I like that. I like that
Five.
framework.
We still have the five. We still need the money.
Yeah, right. So I mean, literally, it's not about the money. It's about what the money can do
Yes.
for my life, for my family, for my community, for my neighbors. That's what it's all about, and I really believe that we as human beings, we are supposed to maximize all the resources that we've been trusted with. It's
Yeah.
not ours, and when we leave this earth, we don't have it anymore anyway. So, but when we have it, it's our responsibility to maximize it, right? So that
Yes.
we can have the biggest impact possible. So yeah, so the community, it's
People,
a
I've had someone recently ask me, what the hell are you going to do with all this money? Why should I
yeah.
bother burdening all of this? I don't need it. And I said, you know what? The people who say that money can't buy you happiness haven't given away enough.
Oh, right.
That's the problem. That's when you know what that really means and the impact you can create, right? That's the important part.
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, dude.
for sure. So yeah, so we want to journey along with people who are serious about, I'm not necessarily that they hate their job. That's not the case for everybody, but they just want to have that freedom. They want to work when and where they decide that they want to work. And so that we want to journey with people through that process.
Absolutely spectacular, and a glowing example of someone who's achieved the freedoms and willing to share that with others, right?
Yeah.
um, I've had so many conversations through this process, and in every conversation I find this to be the common thread. I'm looking for these freedoms. What
Right.
made you pivot? What made you change? Why are you here? And the answer is always, I was looking for some sort of this one of these freedoms that made me want to go there,
Yeah.
right? So that to me is the ultimate place. I hope to be in your spot someday, to be able to get to that point, to be able to impact as many lives as you are impacting right now and will continue to impact. I absolutely enjoyed having this conversation with you, and I really wish you the best of luck with this community, with the
Thank you.
book. I sell millions of copies because there's going to be such a big impact from this, right?
I
So
would love it. I would love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
absolutely, man. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. You've given me your most valuable asset, which is your time, and I really appreciate that.
Hey, I feel the same about you. Thank you so much. And you said you're just a baby in comparison, but hey, 9 units, there are very few people that get to that level. A lot of people can get one or two, but to get to nine, that means you're really working on scaling. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.